Let's talk a little bit more about why moving to countries like France could be a total savings hack for you. In my video last week, we talked about it. In this video, we will go a little bit more into detail and why your entire social class might be upgraded here in France. Child, you might be rich, rich. But first, my name is Tanisha Mercer. Hey girl, hey. I help Black women solo travel and move abroad. If any of that sounds like you, hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share on this video and share this video. One thing, you guys, I want to let you know, on Sunday, I am hosting my very first live stream. Here on YouTube, I will answer all of your move abroad questions. Please, have your questions ready. I will answer them all noon Eastern time on YouTube. My very first live stream, Move Abroad. Your questions will be answered. Don't forget to join me on Sunday at noon on Mother's Day. Make this your Mother's Day present to yourself, and also you can always catch the replay as well. So let's get into it, y'all. The popularity of my video about France versus the US and costs, right? And how moving to France can be a total life hack, a total financial life hack. Baby, you can save a bag. So we're going to talk a little bit more about why things are the way they are here. I was talking to a friend from Detroit who was in town visiting Paris this week, and she was totally amazed that I was telling her how you really can save a bag living in France as compared to the US. Now, my friend is in Detroit, and we know that Detroit's pricing, it has maybe some lower housing costs in some cases, but I am telling you, with the way that housing has exploded across the US, the rent is definitely renting, right? So we're seeing rent increasing across the board in the US. And so the number one reason why I can typically afford a different lifestyle here in France is because my housing prices on average, your housing prices on average are going to be less. Now, let me give you a good example. I am paying quite a bit. I'm paying at the higher end of the scale, living near the Eiffel Tower, right? I'm about a 20-minute walk from the Eiffel Tower. And so, yeah, that is a tourist area. It's going to be a little bit premium for that. But I am telling you, if you get outside of Paris, if you get even outside of like the suburbs or well hours away from Paris, outside of the Parisian region, you can save a bag. I can tell you personally that I was in the Champagne region. The Champagne region is about a 45-minute fast train ride away from Paris. I don't know how many miles or kilometers that is, but it is outside of Paris. And I saw with my own two eyes, I saw apartments going for like $300 a month. One of the members in our community here, she's moving to an area in the south of France, and it's outside of Nice, as well outside of that area, but she's in the south of France, and she's looking at apartment rentals going for $350. Now compare that to the US, $350 a month. Like, what would you get in the US for $350? Now, I would imagine, I'm trying to remember the ad that I saw for that one property that I physically saw. And I want to say it was a traditional, it wasn't a studio. It may have been like a 1-bedroom. So, we aren't talking raising a family, but we are talking if you are a single person, right? This being probably enough space. And so when I compare it to the US, again, what are you getting for $350? Your mama is not even letting you stay in her basement for $350 a month, okay? There is the only housing that I know that would be available for that price would be rent-controlled housing in like a major city like New York or DMV, or I'm sorry, New York or DC, or whatever city that offers, rent control, maybe LA. Um, it would be perhaps like Section 8 housing, maybe. It would, I don't know, $300, 350, even 20 years ago, I think that would have been pretty much impossible almost. So keep this in mind, your housing, which is going to make up the lion's share of your budget. This is how you are able to save in countries like France. Okay, your housing is going to come in a lot of times. It can come in cheaper depending upon where you live, where you decide to live. And that's going to be one of your biggest money saving hacks, right? If you can decrease your housing, that's going to be a big benefit. And what are we seeing in the US right now? I'm seeing all these YouTube channels. I'm seeing van lifers. I'm seeing tiny homes. I'm seeing folks who are living in like campgrounds, RVers. You're seeing a lot of that, sure. A lot of times you see it and it's thought of as we are, glamping, we are doing this alternative lifestyle thing in terms of living arrangements, but a lot of times that is also coming because out of necessity, right? I've seen many stories about single moms and some parents and families who have moved their children into like campgrounds and campground facilities, and they're in a tent. And a lot of that is, I'm not going to say it's glorified homelessness because I don't think that that is exactly what it is. But at the same time, people are unable to afford that house, that mortgage, right? That cable, that lawn care, those expensive utility bills that come with that 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 square foot home. Okay. So we're seeing people cutting back in the US out of necessity. We're seeing things that maybe 30 years ago we wouldn't even think about, like moving in a van, living in a van. No, we're seeing even popular YouTubers living out of their cars, and they've got YouTube channels about it. So a lot of it, it's not because of, it's because of necessity. And we're seeing all across the US, like you're seeing in Cali, you're seeing in the LA area, teachers who do a great profession. And shout out to the teachers and educators in this community. You guys really rock, and your patience and your commitment to your students is commendable. So, but what you're seeing is in places like LA, you're seeing teachers who are not able to afford housing on that salary, right? You're seeing they're living on the beach. They're living in Malibu, right? On Malibu, they're living, off the Pacific Highway. It's cute if you decide to do it, okay? If you go out here and buy you an RV, buy a camper or whatever. It's not so cute if you have to do it, okay? So that's one of the biggest things. Like, I think that there are definitely more Americans who are exploring some other options, but I'm here to tell you that there is an option, but it's going to require that you move outside of the US. Now, France may not be your thing, right? But there are so many countries, and I will link in the caption of this video, I will link some other countries where we're seeing expats, US residents and citizens who are moving outside of the US to countries that are cheaper. I'll link that in this description. But it is definitely an option. Consider France. Consider France for its lower housing costs. Also, a good thing is the lower food costs. It is amazing to me how much my grocery bill has gone down. Now I'm able to get better food. What you see on grocery store shelves here in France, it is typically, I don't buy organic, but it is probably the organic equivalent in the US. And my grocery bill, I'm a single person, I'm looking at it spending around about $250 a month on groceries. And I'm getting plenty of fresh vegetables. My meat is not, laced with these crazy preservatives. I'm not eating chicken breasts that are the size of, two hands. I'm able to get decent quality food without the binders, without the preservatives, without all the bad pesticides for the most part, at a decent price. You compare that to the US and it is insane, right? So overall, my overall expenses, they've gone down so much because my housing costs are less, my food costs are less. I'm spending on average anywhere from 30 to 50% less in terms of my monthly expenses. What else is going to be less? Transportation is another one, right? Transportation is one where I'm spending 90 euro per month on a metro pass. I'm not spending money on a car. I do not have a car. I'm not spending insurance. I'm not spending maintenance, vehicle maintenance. I'm not spending money on parking fees. So remember that, keep that in mind. That's another way that I'm able to save. Also, a big one is going to be healthcare. Healthcare is so much cheaper here. Even your healthcare, going to the doctor, is cheaper. Your healthcare insurance is actually going to be cheaper. So you're actually able to get healthcare insurance that is not tied to your job. Like, what an amazing concept, right? We have tried in America to have that happen, and we are still not there yet. But countries like France and many areas of Europe and other countries in the world recognize that healthcare insurance is a right and it should not be tied to a job, and it should be affordable. So what happens here in France? Now, here in France, if you are on the nation's healthcare system, you get 20% of your expenses reimbursed back to you. Another thing that's going to be great and is absolutely amazing is that the cost of healthcare alone is not privatized. Okay. We know that in the US, the cost of healthcare is insane. Please just have insurance. If you don't have insurance, it is absolutely ridiculous. It is ridiculous if you do have insurance, right? It is so expensive. Healthcare is all about big business. And so in countries like France, it's not the same. You're able to go to a doctor and you're able to get itemized charges. You see exactly what you're spending. There is no surprise bill 30 days later. You're finding out that you're out of network. You're finding out that this person who drew your blood is not a member of your healthcare plan or out of network, and now you've got to pay out of pocket. All these surprises, these things don't happen here. You're able to pay a flat rate fee. You walk out of that appointment paying the fee. If you have insurance, you get that 20% back. Okay. It is absolutely amazing. The government sends that back. I think it's the government sends that back to you. So healthcare is so totally different here. In a previous video, I mentioned how I spent my appointment. I went to an English speaking doctor, so I paid a premium. That was 100 euro. I could have cut that cost even more, right? If I went to a public hospital, my expenses would have been about 25 euro. I had to have a full blood panel. I had to have it was like a physical. So they needed to check what my blood levels looked like, what my numbers were looking like. So like a full physical. That was 160 euro. I feel like I could have cut that in half, okay? Or at least 100 euro if I had done some shopping around outside of my particular neighborhood. So that's another one. But there again, I don't know about you guys, but I have gone to LabCorp. I have had insurance. That medical exam, that physical, it cost, I think my bill was 400. Insurance only paid 2 for some reason. I got a $200 bill. Like, are you kidding me? So as you can see, healthcare is a way that in France that you're going to save. Now let's get back to something else. Also, in terms of, here is the big benefit for me with living in France. And a friend of mine had told me this right before I moved over. She was like, girl, what you're going to find out is that you are going to be in a different socioeconomic class. And I didn't believe that until I'm not going to say I didn't believe it. I had to see it to believe it. And you know what? She was totally right. So in the US, we know that right now there is an attack on the middle class, that there is increasingly a whole lot of room between the have and the have nots. The middle is what is disappearing. So people either got it or they don't. And that's a dangerous thing, especially for the US economy, because we know that for generations and generations, it's always been taught and upheld that the US is where you can, work a decent job, get paid a decent wage, take care of your family. You can live a quote unquote American dream, right? You get a good job, have a business, you can live that middle class lifestyle. You can go on a couple of vacations a year. You can eat well, have a decent home. Well, we know that we're seeing all these increased pressures on that middle class lifestyle. I would argue that it doesn't really exist as much anymore. So what we're seeing in France is we're seeing, and it's important to this point is important because this is one of the reasons why the economy here is so different. The wages are going to be different. You will take a 42% hit. Let's say if you were coming over and you were able to be employed by a French employer, your salary, your US salary would take a 42 automatic hit because that's the level of taxes they are paying. Now, if you are a French citizen, of course, you're probably grumbling, but this is why for me, and I'm coming at it from a US perspective, right? It is all going to be relative because I'm not obviously, I am getting paid USD. I am, I'm contributing to France's economy. I'm obviously having to declare my taxes. I don't pay double taxes on my US income, but, having a home here, spending money on groceries here, spending money on things here, right? I'm contributing to the economy, but it's absolutely insane when you consider, again, their economy can't support US pricing and US salaries. So if you come here and you're able to get employed by a French employer, or even if it's a business, just know that your tax rate is going to be totally, entirely different. The salaries are not the same. And that is the reason why, for that reason, if you have US income, baby, you are able to make it here. So I'm reading from this article. It's an article and it's called, it's from monacolife.net. I think that's a French publication. And so it says here that if your paycheck is above 4,170 euro, that's probably about 4,500 or so USD. Usually it's about a 10% difference. If your paycheck is above 4,170 euro, you are in the top 10% of all income earners in France. And what is that? That's about 50 grand a year or so. Let's just say about 50 grand or so a year. And this is according to the Observatoire des Inégalités. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but it is an independent French information gathering organization. Now, I have told you on this channel that just under 90%, under in the high 80 percentile of French people make less than 4K a month, right? They make under 4K a month. So that's kind of what this is hitting at. But the median, this according to this publication, the median French salary is 1,800 euro. And so that's the median. What is that? 1,800 euro per month, right? Per month is about $36,000. Now, can you imagine $36,000 in the US? That's like what, $15? That's like what, $17 an hour? No, like 18 an hour. I'm sorry, about $18 an hour. We know because of inflation, which is at record high levels, 40-year highs, your paycheck is not going as far. So that is one of the main reasons how I have been able to, baby, It is one of the main reasons how I've been able to live a better life on my American income, living in a country that has where people tend to make I tend to make more than them. So that alone has increased my standard of living. Being able to go from perhaps you know, upper middle class to maybe middle class to upper middle class, or changing my whole spectrum in terms of my income class, because again, folks here are not making as much. Now, this organization says that a quarter of full-time employees make less than 1670 euro, while half earn under 2092 euro per month. Now, this is according to their figures. At the higher end, 23% of workers make $3,000 a month, while the top 10% of the earners in the country bank 4,170 euro per month. The biggest paychecks, those over 10,000 per month, are reserved for the top 1% of salaried workers. Now, I am assuming this is probably going, I don't know if this is gross or net. I'm looking at the article now. Let's see, let's scroll through it. Let's see. I may have to get back on that one, but let's continue looking at this article. So, in order to be considered rich in France, what is considered rich? My friend did not lie. Homegirl did not lie. She told me I'd be rich here. In order to be considered rich, quote unquote, in France, a single person, no dependents, must make 3860 euro net. Okay, net, not gross. 3860 net per month. Roughly 7 to 8% of the population falls into this category. So what does that mean? If you are making right at $48,000 a year, you are considered rich in France. If you're making $48,000, let's say USD, all right? Now, let's say you got some kids, because everybody isn't single. You know, my kids are grown, they're adults. Everybody doesn't have grown children like I do. So if you are going to be wealthy as a single parent with a child under 14, you would need to make $5,018 a month to be classified as wealthy. What is that? $60,000 a year? Now, these figures are amazing to me, because we know 60,000 in the US, baby, that's not wealthy. We know 50,000 in the US. Honey, that is also not wealthy, okay? The pressure on US salaries is so crazy that what you used to could do and get away with, you now can't do, right? You just can't do it as much anymore. So let's see. Let's say you got a couple of kids, right? Let's say you got three children. You got 3 children. You're to be considered rich, you would need to make a couple with 1 child a couple with 3 children under the age of a couple with 3 children. They would need to make 10,808 euro per month to be counted as well off. Now, if you don't have children, if you're a couple, that would mean you would have to earn 5,790 euro to be considered well off. So as you can see, your US salary, it's a total flex. I keep telling y'all, it's a flex. If you are able to have move abroad income, right? If you are able to have online income, you can totally make it here on a whole lot less. You will be considered rich. Look at your numbers. What are you making now currently? We know that in the US, baby, this thing is saying a couple, 2 people with no kids, right? Making 5,790 euro, which is going to be about 500, let's just say $600 extra added to that. Let's say 6,500. If you're making that per month, what is that? That's over 80K, I would say. I'm just doing math fast in my head. Um, that would mean that is going to be considered well off if you are two people. And we know that in the US, if it's both of y'all and you're making that, that's not considered well off. What is considered well off in the US? It used to be, for a long time, it used to be that six-figure salary. Oh, if I can make over 100K, I'm well off. 100K does not 100K anymore. Okay? I can remember saying to myself, if I could just make 100K, right? If I can just make 100K, I'll be, not wealthy, but I'll be good. Baby, it's almost like as soon as my income rose to the level it needed to rise to, expenses started rising right along with it. Nowadays, for you to make 100K, it's not considered like what it used to be. 30 years ago, if you made 100K, you were definitely considered, you were doing very, very well for yourself. Today, not so much. Even 20 years ago. Today, not so much. There are just so many pressures that are happening within the U.S. economy. And this is the reason why I like to tell Black women solo travelers and Black women who want to move abroad, consider doing something different. We know that if you are staying in the U.S., it's going to be really hard to beat inflation. Okay, so you either are going to have to earn more, you are going to have to hustle more, you're going to have an additional income streams, you are going to have to lower your expenses, you may have to have 4 or 5 roommates, okay? I don't know, maybe you eating ramen every day. I don't know, but there are so many sacrifices that you have to make in terms of in the US right now with the cost pressures that we're having, because we're seeing healthcare is going up. We're seeing gas prices fluctuating. I mean, that has been happening for a long time. We're seeing pressure on food. We all have to eat, economic pressure. We all have to eat. We have to go to the grocery store to eat. We have to buy things, right? We're seeing jobs now. We're seeing jobs laying off. Get ahead of the curve, sis, okay? Get ahead of the curve. We're seeing jobs laying off. We're seeing people who are rehired are not getting paid the same wages. People who are getting rehired are doing people who are getting rehired are doing multiple jobs. I don't know about you, but I saw, I gave up a position to move to France. I gave up $140,000 a year job to move to France, right? And working for a major telecom company in the US. And that particular position did not, they would not allow me to work remotely. Okay, so I had to give that up in order to come here. So that job is now back open. And I'm telling you that they're only paying, I think about $100,000 a year. So we're seeing, and I know it's the same job. Like, I know what it is that I did. The same, like, contract length time and all of that good stuff. I know my previous job when I see it. So it is like this in much of tech. You're seeing this downward pressure on salaries. Get ahead of the curve, sis. Don't wait until the worst happens. Like, I need to do a whole nother video about this topic, because now is the time, if you're looking to get out of the US, if you're looking to get off the hamster wheel of the US, baby, there is not a better time than right now to get yourself ready. Leave before the 2024 elections. We don't know who's going to be in office. We don't know if old Joe going to be in there, or we don't know if Satan's cousin, Donald Trump, going to be there. Okay? We don't know who's going to be in office. At this point, it is a toss up. So I keep keep trying to encourage Black women to go ahead and get your move abroad ducks in a row and, figure out where you want to go. It does not have to be in France. I'm in France. Sis, it doesn't have to be here. It could be anywhere. The world is big. The world is vast. It could be anywhere you want to go. So with that in mind, I will be talking about move abroad. I will be answering your move abroad questions this Sunday at 12 noon Eastern on YouTube. Come to this channel, join my live stream, my very first live stream, where I'm going to do it big, and I will answer all of your move abroad questions. Whatever burning questions you have had about moving abroad. I will do my best to answer them using my experience and the experiences I know of other Black women who have moved to various countries. Like I said, if France is not your thing, you want to go to South Africa, right? You want to go to Ghana. You want to go to Asia. You want to hit up Thailand. Bangkok is your thing. Maybe Vietnam. Maybe Mexico. Maybe you want to go to Merida. Maybe you want to go to Playa del Carmen. Maybe you want to go to Tulum. I will be able to answer your move abroad questions. Do not forget, this Sunday, 12 noon, there will be a replay for those of you who can't make it. Yes, it is on Mother's Day, but think of this as your free Mother's Day gift to yourself. If you are not a mother, share this video, let folks know that there will be a free broadcast. I will be answering move abroad questions. So if you're a mother, if you're not a mother, okay, if you know somebody else who wants this to be their lifestyle, let them know that on this channel, they should first subscribe if they aren't subscribed, but let them know that on this channel, I will be hosting, I will be hosting a move abroad Q&A Sunday, 12 noon Eastern time. Join me here. Bring your move abroad questions, whatever it is that you want to know. I will be dedicating 1 hour on Mother's Day to answer your move abroad questions. Don't forget to join me here. As always, if you are not subscribed, subscribe. Also share, like, and comment on this video. I will talk to you guys next time.